Welcome, everyone, to the USD2D.com podcast. This is a door-to-door flyer distribution podcast. This is where people who do door-to-door flyer distribution get together. We dial in and we talk about our challenges that we face and the questions that we have in running our businesses. We problem solve, we learn, and we grow together. Today on the line I have Goldie Nwanne. She's from Atlanta, Georgia, and her business is called Raw Image Media Group, and you can find her at rawimagemediagroup.com. So if you need flyers distributed out there in Atlanta, Georgia, check her out at rawimagemediagroup.com. You can also find her on Instagram at RMG Direct to Door Flyers. That's RMG Direct number 2 Door Flyers. Let's say hi to Goldie and get the conversation going. Hi, Goldie. Are you there?
Yes. Hey, how you doing?
Hey.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for dialing in for a call. This is great. So how long have you been in the flyer business?
So I've been in the flyer business since 2010. I came into the business as an auditor. So I was the ears and eyes of the company over the distributors who were maybe, throwing away the flyers or just more of a flyer police.
Yeah, you were the flyer police.
Right. So since 2010, and since then, and since 2014, I decided to, me and along with another partner, decided to jump on the other side of the flyer distribution business, which would be a distributor. And we thought that we were going to do a better job, in which we ended up doing. And it's 2019 now, and we're still doing it.
Sweet. So you've been in the business for 9 years, and you've been distributing flyers directly for 5 years. It sounds like that's great. So why did you call in today? What kind of questions do you have? What sort of challenges do you face? What do you want to talk about?
It's interesting that you said that because it's a lot of challenges when it comes to flyer distribution. Pretty much, I think the hardest thing is getting the street teams and the distributors to come back.
Getting them to come back.
Right, to be able to stick with the company.
Oh, okay. Like a consistency with your team, your distribution manager and your runners and stuff, like having consistency.
Right, right. So just getting them to stay consistent with the company. We have dealt with, well, at least I've dealt with a lot of different pay structures, and it just seems as if the consistency isn't there. So I wanted to know how were you able to grow your team when you was a part of, well, at least when you were doing the flyer distribution full time, how were you able to build a team, a consistent team, without having to be a part of it?
Okay.
As far as driving.
That's a good question. So if you're facing consistency issues where you're having a hard time keeping the same people around to manage the distribution and to do the distribution, I can see how that would be a big challenge because you'd be constantly looking for new people to work for your company.
Right.
So in my experience, what I did was I had one individual work as my distribution manager, and this was someone that I was friends with. I knew this person. He wanted the opportunity, and he wanted to work with me and for the company. So, and I guess, he just had the personality and the values where, like, he wanted consistency. He just wanted, like, a simple job working for someone that he knew, something fun where he worked outdoors. And so he was a friend of mine, and he was my only distribution manager through the whole time. So I basically gave him a car to drive, and which I think was kind of a mistake. I probably should have let him drive his own car and use his own car insurance. That probably would have saved me a lot of money and a lot of headache. But as far as the runners go, there was a lot of turnover, and there were some consistent people who worked for us. There were they were very athletic, and they liked the work. They liked it. They liked running door to door. So the distribution manager would drive a car and monitor a map, and he would drop a driver off on a certain street corner and say, okay, I want you to stay to the left, and when you get to the end of your run, you'll see me. I'll pick you up at the end of your run. It's right here. And then he'd drop the next person off. Okay, I want you to stay to the right, and just stay to the right, and I'll pick you up over here. And then so they kind of had chemistry between them, I guess. They were kind of friends, and they had fun doing this work. So there was a few of them that were really consistent, and they would work for us, day after day after day. They wanted to keep just running door to door and getting paid pretty good to do it too. And then there was turnover. There was a lot of people who would come and go. And the way that we would find new runners was primarily through Craigslist. And the most important way to find new runners, I think, was just word of mouth. It was actually through friends talking around. Like when we had a good runner, someone who was really athletic, and he would kick butt. He'd run 500 doors a day, and he'd get paid good for it. He'd run he'd jog basically for 3 hours a day. Then he'd go home, and he would tell people about it. He had other friends. He would already know what it takes. He knew what it would take in order to do the job well. So he would keep eyes and ears open for other friends who might want to do this kind of work, who might want to come to work with him and give it a try. So I think the best thing is to kind of, like what you're trying to create is like a company. I think that's why they call it a company, is like you got to be in good company with good people. So I think that what you're trying to create there is a little family of someone to drive the car and manage the distribution, or in other words, to be the police, the flyer police, and then a handful of friends that want to run door to door and distribute the flyers and get paid for the day. So what it takes to run door to door. Like a certain personality type who doesn't mind walking or jogging for like 3 hours at a time at least, and then and they have a positive attitude, because the last thing you want is someone whining and complaining the whole time at work while they're doing this kind of work. You want someone with like a pretty cool attitude who's easygoing. And so I think once you have one good runner, then they know what it takes. They can kind of keep their eyes and ears open for friends of theirs who might want to do the same kind of work with them. I definitely had terrible runners. Like I would give anyone a chance. Anyone that said they wanted to work, I'd give them a chance. I'd take them out for a day. And then there were some that were just like, I can't do this. I'm never coming back. And then there were some who were like, yeah, dude, please call me every day. I want to do this.
So I have some consistent walkers. I think what I'm trying to build now is more of the consistency in my distribution managers.
Oh, okay.
And and so we never really had, or at least I never really had trouble with the runners. So you say, however, the payment structure and how they get paid, because we, at this point right here, I am building a local flyer distribution, but I am a national flyer distribution company. Does that make sense? So I travel all 50 states, but I am here in Atlanta, Georgia, and want to build Atlanta, Georgia's team.
Oh, I see.
This market.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm pretty much doing it. So I know most people come into the business as small business owner, but I'm doing a national. I came in as on a national side, doing it for Fortune 500 companies, and now I'm trying to integrate the small business side of it.
Okay.
Right.
Wow, interesting. Yeah, that's cool. Well, so are you looking for a distribution manager that will go on the road with you and go to all 50 states and do the job, or are you having a hard time finding a
Yes.
distribution manager? Oh, so do you have trouble finding a distribution manager that will work for you consistently right there in Atlanta, or do you have someone stable for Atlanta?
Well, as of right now, it's only me since I just moved back to Atlanta, Georgia. I was in Houston, Texas, so I moved back here to Atlanta.
Oh, I see.
Right. So I'm
Kind of rebuilding.
rebuilding.
Uh-huh.
Correct. So I do want my distribution managers to travel. However, I would like them to travel on their own. Right. And then I would like to be here in Atlanta, Georgia, and constantly train locals that will be able to travel as well whenever they can. So the goal is to get, maybe 4 or 5 distribution managers that are able to hire their own team.
Mm-hmm.
And I could just say them. But
Okay.
It's been working out so far, it's actually been working out okay for me, but I'm going to put it to test in a couple weeks and see how that works out for me. Maybe I can be able to come back and share the experience with you because I'm trying it out right now,
mm-hmm.
and the method that I'm taking is something totally different, something new that I've never tried before, and I'm just taking it in another and I'm taking this. Well, I'm viewing this in another aspect.
Okay.
So, once it works out,
mm-hmm.
I am looking at it different. I'm taking a different perspective on it. So, I think that it might work. But I have a question though. As far as your distribution manager, how were they getting paid? Like, what was the compensation?
Okay. What was the compensation? Yeah, sure. We can talk about that, and I also want to touch on, how to find distribution managers that are consistent, because that sounds like that's your big issue. So primarily, I mean, from what I know about running businesses and putting people into the right roles, I'm looking
mm-hmm.
at personality. I'm looking at their personality, their attitude,
mm-hmm.
and their personality and their values. So I think when you find someone with the right personality, hey, this person would be a good fit for this job, and you got to ask them too. Does this sound like something that you could do consistently? So it's really just kind of like a director. They say 90% of directing is casting. In other words, it's choosing the right people to play the right roles. So I totally see this in business. It's like find the right people for the role, and it has to do with their personality, I think. So I think when you find people with the right personality, then they will be consistent. Because if it's not the right job for them, then it'll just be like they would hate it. They wouldn't stick around. But someone with the right personality would be like, dude, I love this job. I wouldn't want to be doing anything else. This is fun. I enjoy this. So it has to do with something about just their individual personality. I don't think you could just throw anyone in there and expect them to either do a good job or to enjoy it. But maybe try people locally, let them get a taste of it, and see if they like it. And if they really like it, then maybe you could expand to putting them on the road and traveling with them, getting them out there. But yeah, personality is probably the big thing for finding the right person for the job. Is just a matter of their personality. And then as far as payment goes for the distribution managers, that is totally up to you how you want to structure your payment model. I use used to pay my distribution manager 5 cents per door.
Okay.
So if they managed, typically he would manage like 3 runners at a time, and they would each do, so many doors, and it would just add up. So he made a certain amount. We were only doing local. We weren't traveling, state to state. We were just doing the neighborhood, right in our own backyard. So he was stoked if he could drive the car around for a few hours, make $75, call it a day. And sometimes he would go out twice a day. He would take 3 different people out later in the day and do a second run for a few hours and make a full day out of it and make twice as much money. In retrospect, I think maybe my payment structure, I probably could have made more profit if I had paid an hourly rate rather than a per unit rate.
You think so?
Yeah, I think probably. I probably could have if I was paying someone $15 an hour and they went out for 3 hours and made $45 an hour, then I probably would have ended up paying them a little less to do the job. But that's a personal choice. Like, this guy was my friend, and I was happy to pay him a little extra to do it, and didn't bother me at all. But so it's gonna be your decision, your call, based on what your outcome is that you're trying to accomplish, what your business values are, how you structure it. I know a lot of people are really happy to be paid $15 an hour to drive a car around and do simple work like this. But I paid yeah.
You said you paid 5 cents per flyer. What happened to the other runners that he managed? Were you paying them out of the 5 cents that you paid him?
The runners got 10 cents per door. 10 cents per door. So they would, run to 500 doors and make $50, and they would typically do that in a few hours.
Okay.
So you could just, I could have just divided 50 by 3 hours and paid them that much per hour, but I don't know. I just felt really good about doing like a per unit rate. It's kind of like it's in your hands. How hard do you want to work? How fast do you want to run? How many flyers do you want to get out today? And how much money do you want to make? It's your choice. If I pay you hourly, you might just walk and go slow, and you don't really care how many you get out. But if I pay you per unit, you'll be motivated to hit as many doors as you can that day and make more money. So I liked doing it. I like doing it that method. I like paying people per unit.
Right. Did you ever have some point where you felt like they may be dumping flyers?
Oh, for sure. I was always wary about that. That's like the number one concern in the business. So there's just tons of, like you said, policing, auditing. You got your distribution manager doing that first of all. He's your number one first point of contact. He's like auditing the distribution. He's watching the guys do the work. He's counting the doors, literally counting. I would have him drop a runner off on this corner and say, okay, stay to the left, and I'm going to meet you at the end of this run. Then he would drive ahead and count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He'd get to the end of the run, write down the number of doors, pick the guy up at the end of that run, and he would know exactly how many flyers that guy should have remaining in his stack. Because if he dropped him off with 50 flyer packets and there was 30 doors on that run, then he should have 20 flyer packets left in his packet. So he was just constantly counting and doing math and making sure that everybody was being honest and doing their job. And it was pretty clear after you take a few good runners out, it's pretty clear that, okay, these guys are honest. They value honesty, and they're not cheating. He always did the math anyways, but it was pretty clear. Like, if someone was a cheater and they wanted to try to dump flyers, like throw a stack of them under a car or something like that, we would catch them on the first time they tried to do it, and then we would just kick them off the team. And we warned them, like, if you try to cheat, we're gonna catch you and we're gonna dump you immediately, and you're never gonna be able to work for us again. And sure enough, some people would try to do it, and we would just dump them right in the middle of the run. We would say, sorry, buddy, you're out of here. So we had like a zero tolerance policy, and we were always auditing and checking and making sure. But there's something about personality, a person's values, an attitude that once you identify what that is, then that's pretty consistent. That's pretty consistent, you know. That's just who they are.
Right. So, okay. So pretty much paying them per unit, and then also paying the runners per unit because they're doing most of the job anyway, and just staying consistent with the counting, the home counting, and having the right distribution manager with a great personality to manage the runners.
Yeah, that certain type of personality. Like, this is a type of person who has no problem calling someone out if they cheated. Who's saying, hey, you know what? You're not being honest because I'm counting, I'm doing the math, and you're lying. And now you're kicked off the team. You can't work for us anymore. You know, if you have like a really timid distribution manager, they're not going to be able to do that. But someone with the right personality will have they'll be able to enforce that zero tolerance policy. But he'll also have the personality where it's like, hey, let's have fun out here. Let's have fun working together. So yeah, it's that certain type of personality where they're assertive and friendly, you know, but they also enjoy doing this type of work. So I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if you did have to like go through a handful of, you know, a handful of managers before you found one that worked really well for you. But once you find the person with the certain type of personality, the certain values, then they'll probably want to keep working for you. They won't want to do anything else because they're like, oh, I like doing this. I'm a good fit.
So, right. So Vincent, how you feel about going about getting more local businesses? Like, what advice would you give me for, or at least advertising or getting more of the small business?
Okay, how to get small businesses, local clients, yeah. Right. My number one tip is to make a video commercial, because when I made my video commercial and then I started collecting email addresses for all the small businesses in town, and I just started blasting that email. I just started emailing that video commercial out like once a week, every other week or something like that. Actually, it was what I would do is here's what I suggest. Make yourself a little video commercial for your business. It doesn't have to be super fancy or anything like that. Just you can watch my video commercial on YouTube just to get kind of an idea of what it is. I just introduce myself. Hi, I'm Vincent Schiafollo. I do door-to-door flyer distribution, and what that means is I go door-to-door and distribute these flyer packets, and here's why I do this business. I do it because I love it. I have fun doing it, and I like working with my clients. I like designing flyers. I like to see what works and what doesn't work. It's just really interesting, fun work. And then here's how my business works. If you want to get started with me, the first thing you want to do is contact me to reserve a space. And then the next thing you want to do is come by my house and drop off a big box of flyers with a paycheck. And then after that, I'm going to do the distribution, and then I'm going to follow up with you and let you know how it went. So you make a video commercial like that, put it on YouTube, and then start emailing it. Start collecting email addresses for all the businesses in town. You can get them off of message boards, flyers, menus, the internet. You can get emails everywhere. Just start collecting all the email addresses for all the small businesses in town. Send them that video commercial, and then I used to do run reports. So like every time I would go out and distribute flyers, let's say we did a morning, we took out 3 runners, we did 1,500 homes, and we did this area. I would, once again, I would get in front of the camera, hit record, and say, hi everyone, this is Vincent Alexander, and today is this day, you know, the date, today's date. And today we distributed 1,500 flyer packets, and we went to all these homes in this area, and I would hold a map up and show them what the area that it was that we did. And so that's what we did today. And, you know, was your flyer in the packet, or would you like your flyer to be in the packet next time? You need to just contact me and get me some flyers, and I'll distribute them for you. And so every time I did a run, I would make a quick little video, and I would email that out to that whole email list. So now they're seeing my video commercial, and they're also seeing consistently, wow, he's going out 3 times a week. He's hitting 1,500 doors a day, and he's making his way around the city in a circle doing all these different homes. You know what? This guy's actually doing it. I think I should get this guy a box of flyers. And that worked like a charm. So I think that's what you should do. Make a video commercial and then also do like reports, like email, like just blast out your email report to your whole list. This is what I did today. If you'd like to get a flyer in the next run, call me.
So when you mean a package, what do you mean by that? Is that various? Is that
a packet? Yeah, in my video commercial on YouTube explains it. If you look up Vince's door-to-door flyer distribution video commercial on YouTube, you'll see what a packet was. It was like 5 or 6 flyers stapled together. So I would have a carpet cleaning flyer, a pizza flyer, what have you, a landscaping flyer, a painter. I would have like 5 different flyers, and they would be stapled together. And by the way, Goldie, I always included my business card on top. So it said door-to-door flyer distribution, Vince's door-to-door flyer distribution with my phone number and my email right on top. So anybody that got that flyer packet, they'd flip through, they'd see the flyers. They would also have my number. So if they wanted to contact me and say, hey, I want to put my flyer in here. I have a hair salon or what have you. They could, it was pretty, like as soon as they received this packet of flyers and they saw that business card on top, they knew what they were looking at. They knew that, okay, this is a door-to-door flyer distribution. There's a packet of flyers here, and I can call this number right here if I want to get my flyer distributed door-to-door. So there's another big tip if you want to get local businesses. If you are doing a flyer packet, like with multiple flyers, include your own flyer in there. Let people know, here's the flyer for door-to-door flyer distribution. If you want to get your flyer distributed, give me a call.
Oh, awesome. So by you doing that, was there a certain price range that you charged for having a package? Because I have my clients are pretty spoiled. They just only want their solo
exclusive flyer, like just one flyer on the door.
They only want the exclusive. It's a solo package that we have, and they only just want to just have their flyers only.
Well, I have almost no experience doing that. I did a little bit of that, but like very, very little experience doing the solo packet. When I did a packet of the solo flyer, when I did a packet of flyers, and I had like typically 5 or 6 flyers in the packet, I would charge like 6 to 8 cents each. So 6 each times 6 is 36. 36 cents per door, and then I just subtract for my expenses and my costs, and I'd be left over with my profit at the end of the day.
So you charged what was the minimum? Was it like 1,000 pieces or maybe 2,000?
Yeah, it was 1,000. 1,000 flyers, and that would be 8 cents, and so that would be $80.
Oh, okay, I see what you did. You pretty much did so you pretty much had about 6 different businesses doing 1,000 flyers, and you put them in a package, and you charge each one of them 6 to 8 cents.
Exactly. Yeah, and if somebody gave me a box of 5,000 flyers, I would give them the 6-cent rate, so they would save a couple pennies each. They'd save a little money, and so that encourages them to give me more flyers.
Oh, okay, but are you delivering those whole 5,000 at one time, or you're doing it in a 5-week or a 5-month period? This is 1,000 flyers.
Well, we were doing big. We were doing a lot of homes, so we would burn through 5,000 flyers pretty quick. Because we would do generally we'd go out with 3 runners, hit 1,500 doors on that run, and we'd do that once or twice a day. So we could do 1,500 to 3,000 homes a day. So I used to burn through 5,000 flyers sometimes in 2 days.
Oh, okay, and it was just you and maybe 3 runners?
Yeah, well, 3 runners per run. But so if we did 2 runs that day, we'd be working with 6 runners that day. And they might be tired the next day, so we might need a different 6 runners to work the next day. I generally had about 10 or 12 runners that were very consistent, that like to work pretty consistently, and then the other ones were just kind of like giving them a try for one day to see how they go. I had like my core group of runners who were really athletic, and they really liked the work, and they were putting out the word looking for other friends that might like to do it. And then I'd have like random people contacting me looking for work, and we'd say, all right, if you think you're up for it, we'll give you a shot. Come out on this day, give it a try, and see how it goes.
Oh, okay. That sounds fun. I'm just
it was fun.
It sounded really fun, but I think it's more tedious too, because you may have to staple or you have to staple your all 6 flyers.
Oh yes. Oh my God, that is so tedious. Goldie, it takes longer to stack and staple flyers than it does to distribute them.
I'm sure. That's what I was just thinking.
I was surprised at how long it takes to stack and staple flyers. So we also had like a handful of people who were preppers. You know, they didn't run door to door.
Okay.
They weren't cut out for running door to door, but they loved to just sit and stack and staple flyers all day long. And they'd get together and they'd just talk about all the things that they like to talk about and stack and staple for hours and hours at a time. And I even had one guy who loved it so much that he would start in the morning and finish at nighttime, and he would just stack and staple flyers all day long, and he'd be listening to music. And I swear the guy must have made more money than I did, because I was paying him per unit, and he would just crank them out like a monster. So
oh, wow.
Yeah, so he put a lot of time into it, but he got paid good, and he liked it. It does take a long time to prep, for sure.
It does. I was just thinking about that because with my business, we don't prep like that, because, like I said, we have a lot of solo projects that we do.
Mm-hmm.
And pretty much, you know, getting 100,000 flyers at your doorstep is a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot. That's a big project. Yeah.
It is. So I think that the most that I've done, it's about 200,000 flyers in 3 weeks.
Oh, that's impressive. Wow.
Yes. For that project was that was a Comcast project, and that took about 4 drivers or 4 distribution managers and a lot of walkers.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it's a turnaround business, but a lot of walkers. But that was when the business first started, when people just wanted to just, you know, they seen money and wanted to just at least be a part of it and get some of the money.
Yeah.
But now the business, and that's when also it was a hobby, and now it became a business. So just trying to figure out what other avenues to take, you know, to build a system. Because I think that's what's missing is a system in this business, and I just cannot figure it out.
Okay, so where you're at in your mental game right now is like, I'm trying to find the system and I can't figure it out. I think that that's sort of the perpetual state for a door-to-door entrepreneur. I think that we're constantly problem solving. Our business is constantly changing, all the dynamics of it, and we're constantly problem solving and looking for that structure, how everything, we're trying to find balance so that this thing balances out. And so I think you're in a really good place, actually. I think your business is growing, and you're asking yourself, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? And so that's why I started this podcast, was so that we could all share information and try to get some answers. So that's why I wrote my book, you know. So, I mean, You've purchased a copy of the book, right? Start Your Own Door-to-Door Flyer Distribution Business? Yeah, okay, great.
I did.
So I hope you found that helpful, and then I hope you find listening to these podcasts helpful, and I hope you'll come back on to the podcast and share what you learn in the future. Like maybe a year from now, you might want to come back on and say, "Wow, you won't believe what I learned in the last year," because that's how this business goes. It's a constant, perpetual learning experience, and there's always different challenges. Maybe sometimes you don't have enough clients. Maybe sometimes you don't have enough workers. Maybe sometimes it could be anything. It's up to you how you want to structure your business. But you kind of have to like work with what you got at the same time.
Right. So that's, I mean, like you said, there's always problem solving. A lot of problem solving in this business.
Creativity for sure.
Oh my God. And I love it. I literally love it.
There you go.
I've been doing it for a while, and I
love it.
There you go.
It's fun. It's fun, man. You're making your own thing. You're doing your own thing. It's Goldie's rules.
Yes. Yes. And the thing that really gets me is that I'm helping the community. And I say that because every time that I put a flyer out for any business, that business gets more money, and that business grows, and then it actually opens the door for people to get hired, and it just helps, a lot of people in the area,
Isn't that cool? Isn't that cool?
Yeah, it is, and it's just, and people don't really think about it the way that we think about it, because it's more than just putting out flyers. It's literally
the effect of it. Yeah.
Exactly, it's the effect of it, targeting different people that want this actual business, seeing how people react to it, and how they come there so excited about just getting the information. Period. Just open it up to you. Just seeing you in different neighborhoods. You can literally. That's exercise too,
Yeah.
I do it for fun.
There's so many perks. It's fun. It's adventurous. It's problem solving. It's creativity. It's entrepreneurship. And like you said, I used to say it's stimulating the economy. It's stimulating the local economy, because now this business that I'm doing flyers for is going to get more business. And guess what? The customers are getting deals too, because there's coupons on these flyers. They're stoked because hey, I've needed to get my carpets cleaned for 3 months, and I finally got the opportunity to do it when this flyer came on my door, and I got this great deal. So there's
correct.
It's good. It helps everyone. Everyone wins. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's a great. I love it. I know it has some downtimes, but I really love it. Because simple fact is that we get to design it, bring their creativity to life, and we also print it and we distribute it.
Way to go.
The product, right?
Hell yeah.
And then we sit down, we have a consultation with them to figure out what their desired target markets are, and what we can do, and embed the geographic demographics in there, so that way they can actually get more business.
Yeah.
And then pretty much, and then the after effect is when they literally sit down with you, the clients sit down with you, and they tell you, hey, this has been like the best marketing campaign.
Yes.
I've gotten so many.
Woo.
Right.
Isn't that exciting? It's like, oh, awesome, I offer something that actually works. So cool.
Right, right, and they're willing to do it again and do it again and again and
yeah.
again. So, and that makes you feel
great,
proud of yourself, and
successful.
You're able to take that same, right. You're able to take that same energy and let your team know, hey, you guys did a fantastic job, and we could do this again, keep doing it. So it does have its perks in the business,
For sure.
Just trying to figure out a certain system, problem-solving solution to, a majority of the problems doesn't really, equate to the happiness that you get for, helping other businesses grow, with their dreams and stuff. So
yeah, that's right. It's kind of a balance between the pains of the business, because there are pains involved, and then
Right.
the reward of the business. And so it makes for a really dramatic and fun experience. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. So I have I'm doing a little problem solving right now. Like I mentioned before. And once I've documented everything, Vincent, I don't mind coming back on the show and sharing
awesome.
it with your
I'd love
audience.
that, Goldie. Thank you, Goldie.
No problem. Because I feel like what I'm doing right now would be able to help anybody that's trying to come into the business grow and be able to have some sort of structure within their business. So I've been doing it for a while, and every year is something different. So
yeah, it's
this
always
time
changing.
I'm putting some stuff into play. So
way to go. Okay, cool.
I definitely.
Well, hey, I got to tell you, just seeing you and what you're doing and the challenges you're facing and your attitude towards it all and how it's changing and you're having fun with it, it's really inspiring for me just to hear about it. It's really cool, and I have a little taste of what you're experiencing right now from my experience, and it's really cool to see what you're doing. So way to go, man. I mean, it's really neat. It's really neat. I'd love to have you back on the podcast. Maybe a year from now or something, you can share what you've learned, and then we can discuss new challenges that you're facing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I tell you what, though, Vince, your book, I did read your book. I read your book about 7 to 8 months ago. I did. I was having difficulties with the structure of how to pay my walkers, and I said, you know what? I've seen this book. Let me read it. It was a quick read, so I did an ebook on it. And when I read the book, I was like, okay, well, oh wow. So my initial reason of coming to your, purchasing your book as far as how to pay my walkers ended up being way more valuable information in your book than any other books that I got. And I was like, oh wow. So it was a part on there that had a structure of your business that was in there that I had to keep in mind that this is not like a gig. This is like a business,
Right.
So you have to structure it in a way. And then also how to be able to take care of you called it your runners in your book. We call it walkers.
Okay. Yeah, how to take care of them.
So, right. I remember also in the book that you mentioned the distribution manager that you had, but I also seen that you was skating door to door. And I thought that was very interesting because now I am looking into adding a hoverboard or a hoverboard to my business.
Oh, interesting. I've never heard of anybody talk about using a hoverboard for flyer distribution. I'd be very curious to hear how that goes.
Right. So I literally was able to speak with someone that was in a neighborhood that was canvassing the area, and they had something like a hoverboard or more of the the police. What is it called?
Oh, yeah, Segway. I think they call it Segway.
The Segway. Yeah, they had the Segway. And I was curious to ask them. I said, hey, how many flyers do you put out per day? They told me they put out 2,000 flyers in 4 hours.
Oh, come on. How is that possible? 500
because
an hour?
Because they have a Segway.
That sounds, well, I don't know what the neighborhood looks like. Maybe the doors are real close to each other and the sidewalks are direct, but that sounds, I mean, where I come from, the neighborhoods I come from, that would be impossible. But see, so it's different everywhere. The dynamics are always different, Right. It all adds up. It's like math.
Right. So, but when I sat there and I watched her, it was a girl. I watched her. She was on the Segway. And she wasn't literally taking it to the door. She was doing like behind like the mailbox post.
Oh, okay. So that's another dynamic right there. If you're not going all the way to the door and you're just going to drop it on the driveway or something like that, then you could go a lot faster. Sure.
Right. So, but I thought that was very impressive because here in Atlanta, Georgia, we have hills. We have a lot of hills.
So a little electric motor can really help you out a lot.
Correct. So I also tested out a skateboard.
That sounds fun.
And well, I didn't personally, but I had one of my guys to bring his skateboard. That was actually a liability. So if anybody's thinking about using it, please don't.
Yeah. I'd be concerned about the liability aspect of it. I never put anybody on rollerblades. Only I did that personally. That was when I was running the business by myself without any distribution manager, any runners. I just did it all the work by myself. I would slap on some rollerblades. And sometimes I would hire someone to drive my car for me, so that way I didn't have to take my rollerblades on and off constantly. But even working alone, putting my blades on and off and on and off, it was pretty efficient. The only thing I wish I had was a little electric motor on my rollerblades to get me up the hills. If I had had that, that would have been awesome. But I've never seen electric rollerblades. If I ever see electric rollerblades, I'm probably going to buy a pair just because I know that's really awesome.
Well, I thought that was, like I said, I'm constantly trying to add new venture to this business. And I think that when I seen that Segway or that hoverboard, I thought that was impressive. I thought that, hey, why haven't I thought about this before? Let me see about it because, I mean, it could save so much.
Yeah, it could save tons of energy. So just a tiny little shift can make a big difference. That's what I like to look for too, Goldie, is I like to look for little changes that make big differences. So like when I ran my business for a couple years before I realized, oh my gosh, I never had a lawn care company, like a company that did lawn care. I never had a lawn care company put a flyer in my packet, and I always wondered why. Like why is there no lawn care companies that want to do flyers? So I said, you know what? I'm going to make a lawn care flyer, and I called it Easy Lawn Care. And it was a really cool flyer. It was green and white. And then I contacted a bunch of lawn care companies in town and said, I'm putting out this flyer. I'm going to be generating client leads. Would you pay for the clients? Can I give you the lead? And then you can go do the estimate, close the deal. You can sign the contract, and then you can pay me a commission. And one of these companies said, yeah, I'll give you $100 for every client that signs my contract. I'll be happy to give you $100 for a new client. So I think one month we went out and did like 40,000 homes in a month. It was like our biggest month ever. And we had the lawn care flyer in there. And we gave him like 20 new clients, and he wrote me a check for $2,000. And I thought, wow, look at this tiny little difference. I just added one more flyer for my lawn care business, and I increased my income in so much. So I was always looking for those little things that would make a big difference, just like you're doing there.
Right. So how were you able to track the leads?
The leads? I kept a log. So every time my phone rang and they said, hi, I got your flyer for lawn care. I'd like to schedule an estimate. I'd say, okay, what's your name? What's your address? What time would you like to be seen? And I'd say, okay, we'll see you then. And then I would hang up and I would text message that information over to my agent, the person who had the lawn care company, and he'd say, okay, got it. And so I would put that on a spreadsheet, like just handwrite it into a grid, and then I would follow up on it. I would just follow up with him and say, okay, so how about this person at this address? How did that meeting go? And he'd say, yep, close the deal. And then how about this person at that address? Yep, close the deal. And he closed 99% of the deals. He'd show up and give an estimate and close the deal. So I didn't have any problem with tracking. I just kept a log, and I just checked in with him for each one. And I could always call the client and do this little quality control call and say, I just wanted to call and see, are you happy with the service you're getting? And that would let me know if they were doing business with them or not.
Absolutely. That was wonderful. That was a lot of thinking you did right there.
That's one thing we do a lot of, Goldie, I can tell. You and I, we're entrepreneurs. We do a lot of thinking.
Right. So, I love that.
Awesome. That. Thanks. This is fun. This is really fun. Well,
absolutely.
Let's call it a podcast, and I look forward to catching up with you maybe a year from now. Keep in touch, okay?
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much for this call. Okay,
no problem.
rock on, Goldie, rock on.
Will do. And you keep writing some more books, giving us more content, and I'm staying tuned. And so, again, I'm looking forward to being on the podcast soon.
Okay, my pleasure. Good night.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.